I don't even know what to say.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at a loss for words. Syracuse basketball loses at home to Hofstra 70-69. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse, and thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts on the number one sports podcasting network across the nation. And on today's show, we are going to attempt to talk about this game. I can't promise you we're going to be able to make this a full podcast, but we are going to try. We'll talk about towards the end if it's possible for Syracuse to recover from this. The Adrian Autry era, it's just the clock is ticking. That's all it is. And it really started with the Iowa State game. Maybe the clock slowed down a little bit after Tennessee, but after this, yeah, it's not very good right now. His seat is hot. And just how Syracuse could not win this game in the end. All that and more coming up here on today's post-game reaction show. And this is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Heading into this game, you can actually go back and check the tape. I warned you all, ladies and gentlemen, after St. Joe's, that Syracuse was going to have to play better. Because credit to Hofstra this season, they're not a pushover mid-major team. So you have to give credit to them. It is not a surprise to me that Hofstra won. They already went on the road and beat Pitt. And I know that Pitt isn't very good, but Pitt is in the ACC. And so Syracuse had to play better than how they played on Thursday against the St. Joe's team that came into the game 248 in the net. Hofstra was not far below Syracuse in the net. And Syracuse was shorthanded. Once again, no Donnie Freeman in this game. When is he coming back? I don't know. We'll never know. But maybe one day he'll just show up and play. And by the way, I'm not blaming Donnie Freeman. It's not his fault. He doesn't want to be hurt. I'm sure he wants to be on the court. We just don't have a timetable. Oh, he's close to coming back. Game time decision. Well, how is he today? Crickets. Nothing. I don't know. But you don't have him. Let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. Is this what tournament teams do? Lose on their home floor to a team like Hofstra? I know Hofstra is one of the top teams in their conference this year. They may earn an automatic bid and go to the NCAA tournament themselves. But tournament teams, even being shorthanded, are supposed to take care of business at home. That's what they're supposed to do. And Syracuse basketball did not. In the first half of this game, it was a back and forth affair. And so you could tell that this could be a game that comes down to the wire. And what I was hoping for at the end of the first half was kind of similar to what happened with St. Joe's, or what didn't happen with St. Joe's, which is get off to a good start to start the second half. And that's what Syracuse actually did. And the Orange, to their credit, after the half, they build up a 7-point lead. And the game changed. How did it change? Look, it's hard to knock him. He is a true freshman. And hopefully he learns from this. And I'm not sitting here questioning his upside or that he's a bad guy or anything like that, or he's a bad player, he's a bum. I'm not saying that. But this game turned on that Sadiq White technical foul. Syracuse basketball, let me set the stage, was up 45-38. Sadiq just got an alley-oop, a poster alley-oop. The momentum is building. The crowd is into it. And instead of Sadiq White getting back on defense and continuing to play and continuing to build up the momentum, he feels the need to start talking some smack. And the refs call a technical. And they were probably right to do so. We'll talk about the officiating in a moment. But they were probably right to do so. I don't know exactly what Sadiq White said, but you cannot direct your trash talk to an opponent. That is a technical. And the game changed right there. Because Hofstra, to their credit, they take the 2 free throws. And you know what they actually did with them? They made them. And so instead of them being down 7 with the ball, they're down 5 with the ball. So it's like the Sadiq White alley-oop didn't even happen. No time went off the clock when they hit the free throws. The clock stops when you're at the free throw line. And then Hofstra hits a 3 right after. Game changed right there. And from then on, Hofstra uses that momentum and they build a double-digit lead on Syracuse with less than 4 minutes remaining. And so I tweeted on the Syracuse or the Locked On Syracuse Twitter account at @LO_Syracuse. If you're not following, please feel free to do so. You have to find a way. At this point, you're down 10. Who cares about the style points? Just get it done. You can't lose. You cannot lose to bad teams or teams that just aren't rated that highly. And the Orange go on an 11-0 run and take the lead, capped off by William Kyle. William Kyle is not a good free throw shooter. We know that. But you know what William Kyle has shown me a couple of times this season? He can make them when they matter. When they truly, truly matter. When you truly need them. He's there. He made the game-winning free throw against Tennessee. And to give Syracuse the lead, he needed to make both of his free throws. And he calmly went to the line and made them both. Shout out to William Kyle. It is a shame that Syracuse wasted it shortly thereafter. Now we can get into the officials, okay? Because they were not very good. With less than 16 seconds remaining, Hofstra is up by 1. After Sadiq White, of course, misses a free throw, so he doesn't tie the game. Hofstra inbounds the ball, and they call it off of JJ Starling. And the Orange challenge it. And on review, my genuine thought was, I don't think the ball hit JJ Starling. I think that should be Syracuse ball. Keyword there is think. In order to overturn the call, it needs to be conclusive. It needs to be definitive. And so the officials stay with the call. So still Hofstra ball with less than 16 seconds to go, up by 1. But guess what? Syracuse gets a reprieve. Because Hofstra, with a bunch of timeouts in their back pocket, don't use them and commit a 5-second violation. And so Syracuse has the ball down by 1 with a chance to tie the game with 1 free throw or win the game if he can hit a shot. And Kyan Anthony goes to the hole. He gets bumped, and there's no call. There was no call. Yeah, the officials weren't very good, were they? I agree with you on that. But there were so many other reasons why Syracuse lost this game before you get to the officials that I don't want to hear it. And I'm very consistent. If you listen to me on ACC Squad, you'll hear me say the same thing about other teams when they get screwed by officials. It's your fault. If you're relying on the refs to do their job properly, shame on you. Syracuse never should have been in that position to begin with. They should have beaten up on this team because that's what tournament teams are supposed to do. So you can cry about the officials all you want. They are not the reason Syracuse lost this game. Not at all. Now, coming up here on Locked On Syracuse, we'll go over some of the other reasons why Syracuse really lost this game. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Syracuse. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night, and when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rouge Yet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouge Yet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rouge Yet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients and 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rougiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rouge Yet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver may get hot, a defense starts to tighten up, or the momentum suddenly flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines, they adjust almost instantly, and you can bet the next touchdown score, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked in every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Locked On Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer. Let's continue talking about Syracuse's embarrassing loss to Hofstra at home on Saturday afternoon, 70-69. I ended the podcast by saying there are so many different reasons why Syracuse lost before you can even think about the officials. And I'm struggling between 1 and 2. It's between John Wildhack and Adrian Autry. Here's the thing. I can sit here and rip Adrian Autry. I could, and I'm sure many of you are expecting me to do that because I've been very critical of Adrian Autry over the past few years. You know why? Because they don't win games. So you're probably expecting me to come on here and say, hey, Adrian Autry, why is your offense so stagnant every single game in the half court? You know, the memo is out there now for teams that they should just play zone against Syracuse because it's really obvious that they can't shoot. And when they go to the rim, maybe just foul them because, once again, Syracuse cannot shoot free throws. The book is out on Syracuse, and I could sit here and criticize Adrian Autry all I want to, but is it truly his fault? Or is it the athletic director's fault? In John Wildhack. He brought the guy back. Do I get on the guy that was brought back after the worst Syracuse season since 1969 and probably should not have been brought back? Or do I get on the guy that doubled down on his mistake? Which one? Now, John Wildhack is obviously not on the court coaching the game, but ultimately he was the one in charge who made this decision to double down on Adrian Autry. So I'm trying to decide between the two. It's like Dumb and Dumber over here. So that's 1 and 1A of why Syracuse lost this game to Hofstra. They have a coach who's in over his head, and they have an athletic director who decided, yeah, you know what? After the worst Syracuse season since 1969, I'm going to give him another year. I'm going to give him another whirl. Let's see what he's got. Clock should be ticking on both of them if we're being honest. It shouldn't just be Autry. Wildhack should go too. Now, as far as the players are concerned, how much do you really put on them? because you know that the coach isn't very good. Naithan George. Naithan George was a really good player at Georgia Tech last year. He led the conference in assists. And he was a star acquisition for Syracuse in the transfer portal. That was a big get for them. And they paid a lot of money to do it. They beat out North Carolina for him. So he wasn't cheap. Naithan George in this game, and I understand that he is more of a pass-first point guard, so I get that his job isn't always to score points, but he had a donut today. He dropped 0 points. 0 of 4 from the field, 0 of 3 from the three-point line. He did have 6 assists. Good for him. No points. Naithan George's numbers this season are significantly down to what they were at Georgia Tech a year ago. Maybe we were too harsh on Jaquan Carlos. Because Jaquan Carlos, the year before he got to Syracuse, was an excellent player when he was at Hofstra. Also a pass-first guy. And then he got to Syracuse and suddenly he was unplayable. So that is back-to-back point guards that Syracuse has gotten in the portal where they were significantly better at their previous school versus coming here. Why do you think that is? It's probably because this is an offense in the half court that is stagnant. Nobody moves without the ball. It is heavy iso ball. You get the occasional high screen that comes, maybe if you're lucky. There's no nuance to the offense at all. It is solely reliant on everyone's individual talent, which works if you are in the NBA. Because those guys, I actually went to an NBA game recently, they don't miss, like, ever. They get an open shot in the NBA, there's no missing. That's why you see teams score 130 points like it's nothing. College, it's a little bit different. You need to scheme guys open. And even when you scheme guys open, they might not hit their shots because they're just not as good. But with Syracuse, that's not the case. In 3 years of the Adrian Autry era, it is the same stagnant offense. And you hear the broadcast talk about it. Devo again was in on the call saying they're slow on offense. They're not playing with pace. Hofstra is playing with zone. And they can't break the zone. Nobody's moving without the ball. And this time, there's no Judah Mintz to save him. That's what Syracuse had in 2024. They had Judah Mintz. He was a special player. He thrived. And he took a lot of criticism too. But I'm starting to think, you know what? He was maybe the one guy that could thrive in this offense. He was the one point guard that could. Naithan George is a shell of himself. Jaquan Carlos was a shell of himself. So those are just more reasons why Syracuse lost this game. How about the free throw shooting in this game? I'm glad you asked about it because Syracuse went 9 of 16 at the free throw line. That is 56%. A little golf clap for Syracuse. Congratulations for getting over 50%. It's incredible. And I can't convince you that this is a tournament team. I can't do it. Now, coming up here on this podcast, we'll discuss if there is a path for Syracuse to recover from this loss. But tournament teams don't do this. Tournament teams aren't this flawed. Tournament teams have better coaching. And they have better upper management as well. There's a lot of talent on this roster. but there's no system. None. And so coming up, we'll try to convince ourselves that this team still has a path, but it's bleak. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. And it's a holiday gift that actually gets used, not forgotten in a drawer. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling cover mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Locked on Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer. Where does Syracuse go from here? What do they do? Comment your thoughts right now in the comments section below. What does Syracuse do now? You know they're not going to fire Autry now. It's not going to happen. They are going to see this thing through. So that's not on the table. As much as a lot of us would want that to be on the table, it's not. They're not going to fire Autry after 10 games. They're going to let him finish the year. But the clock is ticking. And it's not just ticking on Adrian Autry. It's ticking on the entire coaching staff and the entire roster as well. Because the trend in college basketball specifically is when you fire a coach, you don't just fire the head coach. You fire all the assistants and you fire all the players as well. That's right. You're firing the players too, because most of them leave. It's what happened to Louisville. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's typically what happens. So everyone's job is on the line right now. And they have no choice but to move forward. And so coming up on their schedule, they have Mercyhurst, Northeastern, and Stonehill. You want to recover from this loss against Hofstra? How about beat those three teams by a combined 90-plus points? Let's start there. You got to absolutely obliterate the three opponents that you have ahead of you. Syracuse has shown they can do that. They did that the first 3 games of the year where they were dominating their competition. Remember how fun it was? They would come on and they would put on a show for everyone, win by 30, win by 40, have a bad half against Drexel, but come out in the second half and absolutely smoke them. Remember that? Those were fun. Fun days. Let's get back to that. That's what you need to do for starters. You need to dominate the 3 opponents that are ahead of you. You have no choice but to do so. And then after that, you get to play in the ACC for the rest of your season. Unless you make the NCAA tournament, of course, or the NIT, which who cares about, but you get ACC play. Your first opponent is at home, and it's a good test. You got the Clemson Tigers, a team that Syracuse never seems to be able to beat. Can you win that game? You beat Tennessee on your home floor. So why not that? That's how you recover. Syracuse is going to have opportunities in the ACC to pick up quality wins. They're going to go to Duke. They're going to go to Louisville. They're going to play Carolina twice. And the conference in general is a lot better this year than it was last year. So you got your chances to recover from this loss against Hofstra. My question for you all, ladies and gentlemen, is do you think that they are going to recover from this? That they are going to do enough to be able to overcome this loss and still put themselves in position to make the NCAA tournament? Do you think that they're capable of doing that? After what we have seen from this team through 10 games? I'm not so sure about that. but they don't have a choice. I said going into the year that the expectations have to match the stakes. It doesn't matter what we truly think about the team because they're entering year 3 of this era. And they have put every excuse for Adrian Autry aside, trying to blame anyone but him for what is going on. So, it's put up or shut up. That was the expectation going into the year. They don't have a choice. Make the tournament, figure out a way to recover from this, or everyone's gone. Comment your thoughts right now in the comments section below. As far as what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse here in the near future, there will not be a podcast on Sunday, but on Monday, we will be back with Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House to talk more things Syracuse basketball. And then on Tuesday, Syracuse football transfer portal needs on defense. And then on Wednesday, Syracuse basketball is back in action. They're on their home court, taking on Mercyhurst, and there will be a full post-game reaction podcast. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.